Hi, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to visualize your terrain data in 3D, mainly using QGIS, which is a free and open source GIS software package. Now to get started, I'm going to make use of this digital elevation model, which by the way you can also download from USGS Earth Explorer web portal. And I have done a tutorial showing you the steps. You can click the link on the top right corner that you're seeing right now to access that tutorial. And with that digital elevation model, I'm also going to make use of this satellite image, which I will then drape over the surface of the terrain to give it a more realistic look. And all of this will be done basically in QGIS. And once we get done with this, I'm going to import this into an open source photo editing software called GIMP. In case if you haven't heard of GIMP, it's a very good free alternative software package for if you guys are interested in doing basic to even very advanced level photo editing stuff. I can definitely recommend GIMP. So I'll be making use of GIMP to basically take this kind of a photo of some soil and align it with the sides of the model so that it further improves the look of this 3D terrain model and give it a bit more realistic look, just like what you can see on the screen right now. So without further ado, let's jump into the tutorial and get started. So this is my QGIS working interface, and as you can see over here on the layers panel, I currently have 3 layers. I have the terrain map. If I activate that, you can see that this is actually a bit of a high resolution image which covers my area of interest and even further beyond that. Covering almost the same exact region, I have my terrain or the digital elevation model, as you can see over here. And on the top, I have my area of interest. So even though I'm using raw data which actually extends further beyond my area of interest, I'll be focusing only on this part in order to develop my 3D model. And we can either go ahead and shave off these unnecessary parts and create a new digital elevation model to fit into the boundaries of this polygon that you can see over here. But with the tool that I'm going to use to develop the 3D model, we don't really have to go through any of that trouble. We can simply make use of the extents of this polygon and cut out the parts that we don't really need from the DEM as well as the satellite image that I showed you guys just now while we're actually constructing the 3D model. In order to develop the 3D model, I'm going to make use of external plugin called QGIS to 3JS. Now in case if you don't have this plugin, you can simply head over to these plugins and click on manage and install plugins. And you can search QGIS to 3JS and you can simply go ahead and install it from here. And as you guys can see, I have already installed this plugin, so I can directly go ahead and use this plugin. And one more important thing is that when we're developing this kind of a 3D model, it's going to be quite easy and convenient if you were to work with projected coordinate reference system. If I check the coordinate reference system of my DEM, if I go to properties, over here you can see that the CRS is EPSG 4326, which is basically a geographic coordinate reference system, and the corresponding unit is in decimal degrees. And it's going to be a bit of a hassle if you had to work with this kind of a geographic coordinate reference system having the units in decimal degrees. So I'm going to reproject this into a projected coordinate reference system. And just before that, we can actually have a look at the CRS of this satellite image, or what I have named over here as terrain map. If I go to properties, you can see that the coordinate reference system is in UTM zone 45 north projected CRS. So I'm going to reproject my DEM to the same projected coordinate reference system this satellite image is in. So for that, all I have to do is simply right click over here, go to export and select save as, and I'm going to name this as DEM_UTM and click save. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to change the coordinate reference system simply by clicking on this button, and you can simply search UTM 45 north. That's the projected coordinate reference system that I'm interested in. So I'm going to select that and click OK. You can see that it's a bit of a sizable DEM, so it's going to take a while, but if you're working with a very small DEM, it's just going to get executed just in a matter of few seconds. By the way guys, I'm also going to provide you with this dataset, so in case if you want to follow along, you can simply head over to the description, download the data from the given link, and you can follow along with the tutorial as well. And in the meantime, I can also go ahead and check the CRS of my boundary, this polygon. And as you can see, the coordinate reference system is actually also in projected UTM zone 45 north CRS. So I can directly go ahead and use this. And if it happened to be in another projection, all you have to do is simply export this, and while exporting, make sure that you are using the correct CRS so that everything is in the correct geospatial location when we use the same CRS for all 3 layers. So I can simply get rid of this terrain layer which I'm not going to be using, and I can move this boundary over to the top, and I can move my satellite image over to the top as well, just like this. Alright, now we are all set to go ahead and use that plugin which I explained to you, which I showed to you guys just a few minutes ago. We can go to Web, QGIS to 3JS, and select QGIS to 3JS Exporter. And make sure that you guys have this preview box checked. And after that, you can simply go ahead and click on this DEM_UTM checkbox in order to import what you see right over here into our QGIS to 3JS Exporter. And as you can see, even though we are able to move around this plane, it's still not really in 3D. And before we proceed any further, I'm going to first right click over here on this layer and go to Properties. And increase my resampling level just a bit, like this. And as I told you guys, we didn't really have to go through the trouble of removing these unnecessary parts surrounding my area of interest. Simply we can make use of this function that you see over here, clip DM with polygon layer. So I'm going to activate this, and you can see that we have the possibility of selecting this boundary of my study area polygon just like this, so that it will basically cut out the parts that we don't really need and retain only the parts that are located inside polygon just like this. And the rest of the settings I'm going to leave it as it is, and after that I can go ahead and click apply and click OK. You can click on the right mouse button and you can freely move around your 3D model in space just like this. And if you would like to zoom in or zoom out, you can simply use your scroll wheel. For example, I can zoom in like this. And you guys can also rotate your model simply by making use of the left mouse button, just like this. And for the time being, what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to go to this boundary of the study area layer, go to Properties, and I'm going to get rid of the fill color. So we can go to Symbology and go to the Simple Fill, and from here we can only retain the outline as a simple line. If the color is not too obvious, you can actually go ahead and change the color as well. Well, later I'll be getting rid of this outline as well, but for the time being I'm going to retain it. And now if I try to activate this QGIS to 3JS Exporter, you can see that the changes that I did took place immediately. And now I'm going to go over here to this Scene and Scene Settings. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the vertical exaggeration. So basically what we are doing is we are vertically exaggerating this model so that the height variations of the terrain will be much more obvious. So I'm going to maybe test it out with an exaggeration factor of about 4, and we'll see how that looks. And if that looks a bit too much, you guys can always play around. Maybe we can set this to be about 3.5, or we can even go ahead and increase this to be about 5. Yeah, I think I'm going to retain 5 as the vertical exaggeration factor for my case. And after that I can go ahead and click OK. And now you can see that still the red color outline that we specified for this boundary layer is still present. So what I can do is I can simply head back over to this layer, go to Properties, and I can go to Fill. And what I can do is I can actually decrease the opacity so that it will be equivalent to actually not having any color for the outline. And after I apply and click OK, you can see that it's automatically taking into account those changes. And now you can see that we have a very clean outline for our 3D model, just like this. And now what we can do is we can simply go ahead and export this. I'm going to save the scene as an image, a PNG image. And let's go with the resolution 1920 by 1080 full HD resolution. And I'll be saving this to my working folder, terrain image, and click save. And if I open that up, this is how it's going to look. And we're going to make use of this image in GIMP. And along with that, as I told you guys, I have downloaded this image of some soil surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make use of this image in order to fill up these sides of our 3D model so that it looks a bit more realistic, even though this is actually just a photo of a surface. So now let's go ahead and open up GIMP. Alright, in case if you guys have never used GIMP, don't be overwhelmed. If you want to download it, you can simply go ahead and search in Google GIMP image manipulation program, and you'll be able to download the latest version without any issue. So first of all, I'm going to go to File and create a new image. And the image size, we can leave this to be 1920 by 1080 and go to advanced options over here. And over here, the background color, I'm going to let this be transparent. And after that, you will see that one layer appeared over here, which is our background layer. We can basically turn on and off the visibility of that layer simply like this. But since it's a transparent layer, you won't be seeing anything. And right over here, you can see the two images that I'm going to work with. So first we have the terrain image and we have the image of that soil surface. So to bring an image over into GIMP, all you have to do is simply drag it and drop it over here just like this. And you can see that it fits perfectly just because we happen to maintain a similar resolution for my background as well as the terrain image. And similarly, we can bring over this image of the soil surface as well. And if you want to turn off the visibility of this layer, you can simply go over here and you can turn it on and off as you wish. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer by clicking over here on this button. And I'm going to create a polygon which sort of can be used to represent these left and right sides of this 3D model. So I'm going to create one layer called outline of the left side and make sure that we have transparency activated over here and click OK. And then I'm going to go over here to this tools, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a path. I'm going to create two paths to basically represent the left and the right sides of this image of this 3D model. So I can zoom in simply by holding the control button and using the scroll wheel. And after that, I can initiate my path, let's say just like this. And I can add one node over here. And I'm also going to actually go just a bit further and add one more node like this. And I'm going to create another node like this. Now keep in mind that we don't really have to create our path along this boundary. I'm going to make use of a cool trick in order to fit our image into these boundaries perfectly. So for the time being, the way I'm going to develop my path is simply in this manner. I'm going to create another node over here. I'm going to bring this over here until I reach my starting point. And now I'm going to select Control and click on this starting point in order to conclude my path just like this. And after that, if you want to make any further changes, to the nodes, you can simply drag and make modifications like this. So I'm going to leave this over here. And if you want to improve this just a little bit, so don't be bothered if you didn't get it right the first time, you can always go ahead and make modifications just like this. Alright, after that, I'm going to make sure that my active foreground color is black from here and click OK. And now we can go over here and select stroke path. And we can set the line width to be just 1.0 and select stroke. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and create another layer called, not outline, but this is going to be a fill layer. And again, I'm going to go over here and select fill path, and I'm going to fill it with a solid color. And when you click fill, you can see that this sort of polygon gets filled out in this kind of a manner. And for the time being, if you do not really want to view this, you can deactivate the visibility of the layers from here. So I'm going to repeat the same steps, but now for the right side. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer from here, and this time it's going to be outline of the right side. Click OK, and you can go to Tools, Paths, and create the path just like this, without worrying about the accuracy much in your first go, because you will be able to make adjustments accordingly. And to conclude or complete the path, I'm going to hold Control and click on this starting node just like this. And after that, you can actually make the adjustments just like this. Maybe we can make this one straight a bit, yeah, in this manner. And now create a new layer, and this time it's going to be fill right, and make sure that you have selected fill right and fill path, assign a solid color and fill. Alright, now you can see that if I activate the two sides, we have the surfaces for left and right in this manner. And now what we can do is we can actually activate this image of this soil surface. We can make sure that we select this soil layer, decrease the size just a little bit. We can go to Tools, Transform Tools, and we can scale this down by selecting Scale, and we can reduce the size just like this. If I double click over here, I'll be able to rename this. I'm going to name this as soil left side, and I'm going to duplicate this layer simply by right clicking over here, and we can go to duplicate layer, and the name we can say soil right. And now you can see that I have the same exact copy of the layer that we had before. So for the time being, we can go ahead and deactivate this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this layer and go to Tools, Transform Tools, and I'm going to take this perspective tool. And with this perspective tool, what you're able to do is you're going to be able to deform this image in a way that you can actually use this image to fit this to the side of this block in this kind of a manner. Now you can always be precise by zooming in and making sure that you are basically covering. You don't really have to cover all the edges perfectly. All you have to do is just make sure that you have set the image in a way that once we apply the settings, it's going to look realistic, just like this. We can also make sure that this is vertical. This side is vertical. Yeah, I think that's about it. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to this fill left layer, hit Alt and make sure you select this layer. And after that, I'm going to go over here to this soil left layer which we transformed just now. Right click and select Add Layer Mask. And from here, we're going to initialize the layer mask to the selection, which is basically the layer that we selected just now. So click selection over here and select add. And to deselect everything, we can go to select and simply hit select none, so that you can see that everything got deselected. But now you might wonder how we are going to fill these remaining parts of the block, isn't it? Alright, to do that, I'm going to first make sure that I'm going to flip this active foreground color to be white. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this paintbrush. We can go to Tools, Paint Tool and Paintbrush. And you can select a brush of your preference. Now to get started, I'm going to maybe go with this brush. And you can obviously increase or decrease the size of the brush and adjust the hardness and the FOSS from here. Well, I think my brush size is just a little bit too big, so I'm going to reduce the size. Yeah, just like this. And after that, make sure that you have selected this layer right here, and you can simply start drawing to basically uncover the remaining parts of this soil image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some brush strokes like this. Before I move into the edges. And now what I can do is I can select a bit of a sharper brush like this and decrease the size, and I can basically make sure that I cover these sides properly as well. And as you can see, if you wanted to do this perfectly, it's going to take a while to make sure that you get the edges properly. Yeah, so this is how that side looks. And what we can do is we can repeat the same exact step that we did to the right side as well. I can simply go ahead and activate this soil right layer. Make sure I have selected that. Go to Tools, Transform Tools and select Perspective. Make sure that I've somehow distort the image in a way that I cover the entire right side of my block. Yeah, just like this. After that, hit enter. And now you can select this fill right, hold your Alt button and select. And after that, you can go over here to this soil right layer, right click, go to Add Layer Mask and make sure that you have selected this selection and select add. After that, you can again go ahead and take your paintbrush. Make sure that you have selected this layer and start painting over this. And start painting over this in this manner. Well, now I can switch back to a bit of a stronger brush with a lower size, just like this. Alright, so this is how the image looks finally. You can make changes to the things like lighting and colors as well. For example, you can select this terrain image and you can go to colors and let's say increase the color saturation just a bit, just like this. And similarly, if you would like to, let's say, change the appearance of this left and the right sides, you can always select the layer and go to, let's say, shadows and highlights. And as you can see, you can adjust the shadows and the highlights according to your preference. So this is basically our final product. Now all you have to do is simply go to File, Export, navigate to your working folder, and we can give a name like 3D terrain.jpg, and after that click Export. I'm going to make the quality to be highest and click Export, and we have that right over here. Alright guys, so that's about it for this tutorial. I hope especially the GIMP part was not too overwhelming, but if you do have any questions regarding anything that we did in this tutorial, don't forget to add a comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So thanks a lot for watching guys. I'll see you again in another tutorial like this.